Hello and welcome back everyone to Last Level Press. I am Mr. Black, and you know what? It's been a long time since I just kind of talked to you guys, especially those of you here on the YouTube end of things. All 800 and some odd of you, as we've been growing really well lately. A lot of our stream regulars are much more connected to what's going on simply because they kind of get to talk to me on a fluid level every week, every Friday, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, for those of you who are new and don't necessarily know that we do in fact stream every week. So those folks have kind of had their pulse kept upon what's been going on with me and by kind of behind the scenes, but for the rest of you, it occurs to me that I've not really clued you all in at all recently, so for that I apologize. So we're going to have a little bit more of an informal vlog here as I just kind of catch you guys up, give you an idea of what I've been doing, what's been going on in my mind, what to expect from us in the future, kind of catch you guys up. I usually kind of reserve these things for milestone vlogs, but I'm waiting for the 1,000 to really do something big and special and fun. So anyway, as for personal updates, yes, as some of you may very well know, I was sick for about 2 weeks right after I got back from El Paso, and I'll spare you all the gory details, but I was absolutely miserable for about a straight week. And then there was the lead up in that, and then the recovery process after it that just completely drained me. And I was really frustrated by that because, like I said, it was right after I got back from my week-long vacation to El Paso, and when I got back from that, immediately afterward, I was so energized. I was just ready to come back and kick down doors and start launching into new projects and really round out old projects that I've been working on, like Dino Month at the time, like Stalker, which I'm rather near to the end to now. And I was just ready to just destroy everything that got in my way, and then my stomach and the rest of my body decided, you know what, we're gonna destroy your momentum. Yeah, thanks for that. Damn antibody rebellion. But, you know, these things cannot be helped. So, that was why the end of Dino Month was kind of weak. And I didn't really have any time or energy or inclination to get it back onto its feet. I know it kind of died with a whimper, and rather not the big giant boom that killed the dinosaurs. I was sad about that, and I do actually have a couple of leftover projects that I had intended to do to round out Dino Month, and like I said, just did not have the energy or the personal health and wherewithal to have any business attempting at the time. So those are just going to be standalone projects sometime in the next couple of weeks as I release them. You'll know them when you see them. As far as other things that have kind of troubled me lately, let's get the bad news out of the way first. As a couple of you, especially our moderator Ghost, and a couple of guys of you that I've kind of gotten to know really well as friends by connections here on the channel, you guys know pretty well, I was absolutely just knocked off my game right after, again, I got better from being sick. I decided that I was going to feature a bit more indie games, and I'll get into why I'm going to do that a little bit more here in a bit. But the first game that I really wanted to jump into, especially because I was given a couple of other games via gifting on Steam, was Salt, which you guys have been getting the first few episodes of here on the channel lately. And I recorded a first 15 for that, and a round 2, and a round 3, and without sounding arrogant or big-headed, I knew as I was recording those episodes that they were some of the best I've ever done. Like, I knew I was being funny, and I usually don't. I'm kind of like, just, well, am I forcing this joke? I don't know, just do it. I don't usually have a great deal of confidence in what I'm doing, but I was just on a roll with those episodes. I loved them. And then I closed the game, and I realized that in my derpdom, I had managed to not save the facecam footage for the first episode, and that was aggravation enough. And then I checked the recording footage from the other episodes, and apparently about midway through the first episode, let's see here. You see this little button? Button. Can you hear me now? What I just said is no. No, you can't, because apparently that little button, which I almost never use, managed to get itself wedged between my leg and my chair arm, and managed to get pinched. That was the mute button. All of my commentary, all of it, The gold that I was spewing! Yeah, gone. Gone. I wanted to just punch baby seals all day long with spiked brass knuckles covered in nails and other unmentionable terrible things. But after I got better from that, and I realized that, okay, I'm going to have to scrap 3 whole episodes and to just deal with the fact that all of those irreplaceable first impressions and really cool reactions I just can't work with. As you guys are now well aware, I kind of recomposed myself, but that knocked me off my game really hard for a couple of days. Because I was back on top of it. I was recovered from being sick. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna charge like a bull through all of these things in front of me. No, never mind. You're gonna completely fuck up the first thing you try and even do. Alright, yeah, okay, thanks. So, that kind of calmed me down a little bit. I'm like, alright, I'm just gonna approach things a little bit more calmly, with a little bit more measurement, and not rush into projects and make dumb rookie mistakes like that anymore. So, while I'm thinking, I didn't accidentally leave the mute on, did I? Okay, no, I didn't. Alright, let's just make sure about that before I go any further and make any more mistakes. Anyway, you guys, speaking of Salt and also The Forest, one of the other projects I've started on recently, you guys have been loving it. Like, I've received, pun definitely intended, waves of support from the comments and from a couple of personal messages from you guys regarding the Forest series. Again, thank you to Noah from Nomad Studios for gifting that to me via Steam, and also for all the Salt footage that I've been releasing and that gameplay. I've really been enjoying Salt. Like, it's one of my favorite games right now to just go and play. I look forward to recording that game. A lot of games I'm just like, well, okay, I'm kind of overdue for doing that. I guess I'll jump in with it and I'll record that. But Salt, I'm like, I want to play it some more. So that's kind of one of those feelings that once you start playing games for a living, it kind of dies. Like, playing games kind of becomes work. Like, that's the job. And you can have fun doing it, but you don't necessarily, like, want to go do it all the time. Salt is giving me that, and I love that about it. So I'm really glad, because of the fact that I'm having so much fun and I'm enjoying it so much, that you guys are also enjoying it as well. And I hope that the developers at Lava Boots who have been working on that are also enjoying that series. I've tried to balance out my sort of coverage and commentary regarding the inevitable issues regarding the fact that the game is, of course, an alpha, so it's not polished to the degree that it will be when it is finally finished, and also to make those episodes entertaining and not just big, long bug reports for you guys. That way I can definitely deliver to both of the audiences that I really want to cater to with that. Because, of course, I want to entertain the rest of you, but because the people at Lava Boots were kind enough to send me a free copy of that game, a $15 game, I definitely wanted to give them as solid feedback as I could. And you guys know that just because I like somebody or because they do me a favor, that's not going to compromise my integrity as a, as a critic. I'm, of course, still going to point out the flaws that I come across, and there just aren't that many to cover when it comes to Salt, which is what I've been really glad of. The only couple of things that I've run into were mostly my own error, and other things that are, again, predictable because it's in alpha, like the fact that all the textures aren't necessarily all that great. But again, I really wanted to kind of get out there that I've just been relieved and excited at how well received those series have been recently. Now, on a completely unrelated note, and those of you that don't really care what I've been doing, you can feel free to tune out now. The rest of you can just chill out and we'll just kind of bro for a little bit. But I have not, since about almost 3 years ago, played almost anything console. I've been PC only for quite a while now, largely due to time and, like, office setup restraints. Really, it was before I even moved out here to Houston, which was just over 2 years ago now, was the last time that I really played PS3. And even then, never online. Like, I connected to PSN about the last couple of months prior to my moving, and then after that I never did anything with it, so almost none of my gaming or interacting at all with anything on the PS3. And yes, I do have a PS4, but I have not set that up within our whole upstairs setup here. That's still kind of downstairs, more of like a family unit sort of thing. and I just don't have much for it. I think I've only got, for the PS4, if I recall correctly, I've got Need for Speed Rivals, don't waste your money, and why do I keep wanting to say Killzone Liberation? Why does that word come to mind? Shadowfall, again, unless you're just a diehard Killzone fan, don't waste your money. But I wanted to kind of talk about a couple of things relating to the PS3. I was just rigorously accused ages ago. A lot of you probably have no idea what I'm talking about when I mentioned this. Feel free to go back. I'm still rather proud of it. During my old Midas Touch series, which was kind of a dual parts expose vlog of sorts, that I conducted a long time ago here on the channel, really breaking down a lot of the things that were very disappointing about the way that the Xbox Live service, especially its Live Gold service, was priced and the way it all worked, and the fact that it was basically double charging for a lot of things, and a lot of those things were free otherwise, and I just was not at all happy about that. So, of course, when you criticize any one of the major contenders in the console wars, you're, of course, always going to be dismissively thrown under the bus as a ridiculous shill for their direct competitors by those that are lazy and just want to judge you because you disagree with them. Love that art of discussion these days, but I'm going to throw a little bit of that same sort of contention toward Sony and PSN. So here it goes. I never, like I said, did much of anything online until very recently, as in about 3 days ago. And when I logged into PSN and started looking for free-to-play games, because I'm cheap, I make dirt, I do this for a living, and this doesn't pay. Anyone that you think is doing YouTube for the money, unless they're pewds, you're a fool. We don't make much money at all. That's another thing that I've heard a couple of times. You're just doing this for the money. What money? A couple of you guys have seen what I make. And even they were like, whoa, damn, you eat? So, sometimes. Anyway, back on task here. Why are almost all of the free-to-play games on PSN absolutely, irrevocably, critically infected with mobilitis, complete with wait cooldown times to so much as play the game? I understand why that's there for mobile games, but when I go and I sit down to go and play a game, I am dedicating the next couple of hours most of the time to the intention of playing that game. I'm not killing time waiting at the bus stop. I'm not bored sitting at a wedding that I don't care about, doing something underneath my breath and turning the volume and the brightness down because I don't actually care about these people. Yay, just clap for their happiness. So where's the open bar? Can I go home now? No. If I'm at my PS3, it's because I want to play things. I don't want an hour cooldown waiting on the next coin that I've got to spend to go and connect to a multiplayer match. Or in the case of, what is it, Tekken Revolution, I believe it is, the basically free-to-play version of, I believe, Tekken 6, to even make so much as a single-player arcade run. Yes, you've got to wait, I believe, half an hour to receive a coin, or coins if you wait for a great deal of time, so that you can even go and make a single-player run. Why? I don't understand this. The logic, it fails me. Oh, I feel like Deadpool right now. You have failed me, brain! But maybe these are just things that, because of the fact that I've never really dedicated a great deal of attention or time to PSN or online console gaming at all, I'm perhaps just completely removed from that subculture of the overall gaming culture and don't really know. That could very easily be the case. So if any of you guys know of a bit more logic behind that thinking, do please enlighten me, because I am dreadfully curious. And kind of cynically so. I don't believe I'll really be convinced otherwise. But feel free to have at. I'll definitely hear any potential explanations you may be able to offer, but all I really seem to see it as is money. Because all of them allow for users, it's not really allow, they encourage users to go and buy those coins, or in the case of Ace Combat Infinity, I love the Ace Combat series, they're sortie fuel, so that you can, fuel your plane and go and fight people. Really fun when you can do it, but I've also noticed that your PS3 has to remain on the entire time for you to be generating these things. I've got a habit, because I'm kind of old school, of not leaving my consoles on all the time the way that I would a PC. I turn it off when I'm done. And yet I don't actually generate those coin things. I expected to come back a day later and have 20 some odd coins waiting for me. Nope. Nope. Not the way it works. So I was completely kind of disappointed by that. And also, unfortunately, by the one online PSN game that I had been looking forward to for a long time and never actually got the time to get around to, Dust 541 or 514, whichever, I always forget the order of those numbers. The free-to-play, PlayStation exclusive FPS companion game to EVE Online, one of my favorite old-school MMOs of all time. Love me some EVE. Even though I've kind of got to be in the right headspace and mood to play it, I just absolutely adore the way that that game works. And I was really looking forward to the idea of sort of a component game like Dust, in which you're playing as the infantry who are fighting over planets that EVE corporations are essentially establishing stakes on and going to war against. If you don't know the way that EVE works and the intricacy behind its entirely player-driven factions and economy, you're missing out. Look into it if for no other reason than scholarly appreciation. There are economists, real-world economists, who look at the way that the EVE Online player-driven economy works for ideas. No kidding. It's that damn intricate and natural and organic. Like, it's just awesome. But anyway, I just found Dust to be adequate. It wasn't bad, but it didn't really hook me all that well. The music was dull. The only thing that really caught my attention as really cool in it is the fact that the skill system works much the same way that EVE Online's does, in that it's sort of like passive skill progression, although it is kind of rewarding you for doing well in matches and things like that. But again, nothing that really called to me as like, this is the future, this is the evolution of console FPS gaming. Not so much, and that's kind of what I was hoping it would be, so color me a little disappointed on that. And the other thing relating to console FPS that I want to give you is a word of warning. Oh my lord, I know, I'm the better part of a decade late in addressing any of this. I recognize that. The PS3 is old news. I know this. Do not buy, if you haven't already, the $40, at least when I bought it ages ago, Sharpshooter peripheral unit for the PlayStation Move controllers. Okay, if you don't know what this thing is, screenshot. Fingers in the screen. Yeah, let's not make the same mistake that I did with the Tonberry. You guys that watched the last Salt episode, yeah, this little guy, he was supposed to be in the corner when I was talking to the Tonberry, and unfortunately I was a derp, and he was kind of out of frame, so I had to kind of shop in the other little Tonberry in the corner, but that's neither here nor there. The Sharpshooter, the peripheral, don't buy it. Why? Because it is nauseating. That thing is an utter failure. It is a catastrophic, stomach-churning failure of an attempt to create a, like, light gun rifle sort of thing for the PlayStation Move. I tried it in Killzone 3, and that's the only game that I've tried it with as yet. But for Killzone 3, oh good lord, it was jerky. It was at times unresponsive, at other times way too responsive, like a mouse with the sensitivity jacked to 11. And it just seems like little movements would suddenly, like, the character on screen would just, oh, you want to go down? Navigation. Oh, dear God. Like, I felt like I had an Oculus on that wasn't calibrated properly. And I wasn't even doing it with 3D. I can only imagine how just absolutely disorientingly stomach-churning that experience would have been with the periphery, the rifle controller setup, and something like what Sony is actually working on, Project Morpheus. Oh, dear God. Not at all a pleasant experience. So it may look cool and it may have a rather ergonomic and well-designed setup, but at least as far as Killzone 3 is concerned, it does not control at all the way I was hoping. Because it mimics your movements with it on screen. See if you can follow what I'm trying to explain here. So if you're aiming at a point on screen, that is not where the actual in-game rifle is going to point. The rifle itself is going to mimic the angle at which the move sees you holding the controller. So you're really going to have like a parallel firing line rather than a direct correlation to where you're pointing the controller itself, which does not at all facilitate the goal of that controller unit, which is to, in some manner, replicate the feel of actually shooting with the rifle in the game. And, again, total abysmal failure. So, that's a very late product review for that thing. And in other news, the last little bit of PS3 notage that I've been doing. Can you tell I've been really enjoying actually getting back to all of this? Largely because we rearranged and set up another of our rooms upstairs here, and kind of set that up as like an external gaming lounge removed from the recording office that it allows for a nice little space to kind of go and wind down and get away from all of this, because like I said, this is what we do for a living now. This is kind of the job, so being able to unplug from that and actually get real true downtime away from workspace is a good thing, and I've been enjoying that, and I admit, kind of overindulging in the last couple of days, getting back into like, oh yeah, this is what downtime feels like. It's been nice. And in that downtime, I've returned to an old love, recreating my favorite characters from games, from film and anime, in Soul Calibur 5's character creator, and oh my lord, it has been so much fun. I've been rather ego-checked, because I used to kind of think I was a bit of a badass when it came to some Soul Calibur. I met the badasses, and I got wrecked. Absolutely destroyed. I did well last night, actually. But a couple of the other people that I fought before that, ooh, that's PTSD-inducing memories. Oh, dear God. I have never gotten wrecked that hard in Soul Calibur ever before. But I really wish that I had a one of the, like Elgato or whatever the console recording units are that would allow me to actually record stuff from a PS3 or even from other consoles like PS2, stuff like that, and to kind of show off kind of the way that I did with Robocraft and with a little bit of the Kerbal Space Program, which yes, some of you have asked, I will be getting back to very shortly. And just build things, in this case characters, and show them off and have a little bit of fun with them. I've made, rather, if I do say so myself, impressive recreations of Alucard from Hellsing, Genesis and Angeal from Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. What else? Yes, the old school Kain, as in when he was like pale white with the black armor and everything from the original Legacy of Kain games. That was a recent creation. Among others, and I've just been having so much fun getting into it and actually playing with other people again, which up until recently with a couple of you guys that I've met via the channel, I've just not really done, like, ever at all. So it's been nice. I've actually really been enjoying that. So getting back a little bit to the business end of things, as for what to expect from LLP, particularly myself here in the near future, like I mentioned when we kind of first commenced this recording, we've been moving along really nice lately, and on the track and the momentum that we're on right now, it won't be but another like week and a half or so before we actually clear the 1,000 subscriber mark. Guys, girls, this is awesome. I've mentioned it before, but again, especially for this landmark that we are approaching, it bears repeating. Do you realize how few channels, gaming channels in particular, flooded though YouTube is with them, ever make it this far? And yet you guys are helping to catapult us toward success, the likes of which I could have only dreamed of before. And we're getting there with you guys' help. And I say it is with you guys, because you're the ones that are sharing our stuff. I just make it and I put it there, but who's gonna care? unless you guys watch it and share it with friends and say, hey, this guy's cool, and let me subscribe to that, let me like that, let me put that on social media, let me start the domino effect of getting exposure out there for what this channel is doing and to support them. Awesome. Awesome. And the last little bit there that I'll add is I keep receiving this question. I don't like to address it, but there's a part of me that recognizes that I need to, because of the whole, actually needing to feed myself thing. How can I help? I get that a lot, which is really cool. Like, I would never have expected, especially given my previous experience with the infamous reputation that YouTube comments have. I would never have expected to have received such generosity and positivity as I have from the community that we have engendered here at Last Level Press. I've just been absolutely relieved and humbled by all of that. So to answer those that continually ask me, what can I do to help you guys? Whatever you want. The best thing that you can give us is exposure. Absolutely. Because the more people that find us, obviously, the more views we will get. And because of that, vicariously, the more ad revenue we get. Let's be honest about that. That's what pays our bills. Other options available to you guys, we do have a means for you guys to donate to us via PayPal as well as Patreon. I keep links to, especially the Patreon thing, at the bottom of each video. So if you are so inclined, again, I will never ask you guys to donate to us. However, I would be a fool not to have avenues open available to those of you who are so generously inclined. And to those of you who are, again, thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. But again, I will never put any pressure on you to do so. I'll only bring attention to the fact that the option is there. The only time I will ever ask you guys for money is when it's not going to me. It's when we start doing charity drives and stuff, as I've discussed before. And I'm starting to look forward to getting to that point, because now that we've been doing live streams weekly, with the exception of the 2 that I had to miss, one because I was out of town and then again because I was sick, we've been doing live streams for a few months now, and I've kind of gotten that down. As far as the technology end of it all goes, I'm still horrifically noobish, and without the aid of our moderator Ghost, I would be completely lost. But thankfully, with his help and also with one of our other regulars, Menthius, who's also, I believe, been a moderator for Twitch before and who knows a great deal about audio technology, they've been good helps in kind of getting me situated in the technology end of things. And I've been able to really focus on, like, okay, this is how I host on Twitch. This is how I make it fun for myself, because I do it for those of you who haven't joined us, hours at a time. I believe the longest stream we ever did came up to about 11 hours. That was grueling, and I swore off ever doing it that long for anything but a charity stream ever again. Now I try to keep it between about 4 to 5 hours. Usually it starts from about 7 Central Standard Time until about 11 to midnight-ish. And that, I find, is usually a pretty good length, because by that time I start to get a little bit weary, I start to get a little bit fatigued, and I can kind of kill it off and have the rest of my evening to wind down before I fall into just total exhaustion and I'm just done for the next 3 days. I don't want that kind of cooldown from it. I want to be able to just spend the next day being like, okay, that was kind of tiresome, but I can recharge, I can relax, and then I can just come back at the rest of the week nice and healthy and recharged. So that's what I've been doing with that, and I feel like now I've got a persona down that's kind of ready to actually start hosting cool, fun events like charity drives. We don't necessarily have the kinds of numbers for our turnout that would facilitate the ability to do that, because when we've only got about 20 regulars, that's a small number of people, and a lot of our regulars I know are just as tight on cash, if not more so than we are, meaning not a lot of spare cash to go around. So while we all may have a great deal of positive intent, we just don't necessarily have the numbers to back any kind of cool, like, charity goals. So once we get there, definitely on the table, but we gotta keep rolling forward with the momentum first. But we're getting there. We're getting there quickly. So, other things to expect from us in the future. I will be wrapping the Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl series in the rather near future. I'm actually going this evening to go and record a little bit more of that. I don't know whether or not I will actually finish the game. You guys will know in the very near future as I release those episodes. Because let's see, where I'm at right now is right before I move to the Chernobyl reactor itself. And I am going to do, without spoilers here, two different endings, because I know there are at least two options available to me from the point that I'm at right now. So those may be separate episodes depending upon the way it all falls, but it will not be long at all before I wrap Shadow of Chernobyl, and I kind of, like, regret that to a degree. Like, that series has kind of become emblematic to me for my experience as a Let's Player on YouTube, because I go back now and I watch the very first episodes of that series. I'm like, oh my god, I was so horrifically amateurish and noobish. But by... I know the episode that it was. It was the Assault on Agroprom episode, in which I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm just having fun with it, and that was the birth of Stalker Mode. That was when I started to really just get into having fun with doing Let's Plays. And that was a turning point for me. That kind of was a good point of growth where I just let loose and decided to really make something fun and positive out of it. And I've never looked back from that. I've only tried to branch out and do other fun things with it. And now I've gone back and I've rewatched part of that series, and I can kind of like watch myself, which is weird, grow as a Let's Player, because I watch a bunch of other people. I can kind of compare myself to them, even though I know sometimes that's not necessarily a healthy thing to do, but we're human, we do it anyway. And I could kind of tell when I started to take influences from people like Markiplier, from people like Jacksepticeye, from people like Cry. I could kind of tell where all of those were coming from, and where I started to put my own spin on some of these ideas. And it was kind of like, yay, feel good, I can see where I actually came. And I liked that, but... speaking of Shadow of Chernobyl, I do plan on, after I wrap that series, completing at least one other unrelated and relatively or reasonably lengthy game between the completion of that game and the next game that I commence in the Stalker series, Clear Sky, to give myself, as I've mentioned before, a little bit of downtime, a little bit of like a recharge time in between Stalker games, because as I still receive questions, even though I've answered this a great deal, yes, I do still have plans to complete the entire Stalker series, Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky, and Call of Pripyat, and I may even do some partial replays of some of them with different complete overhaul mods in the future. No promises on any of those, but I do feature a lot of mod content, so that would be definitely under my purview of interest to cover in the future. But so that I don't get completely burned out on Stalker, I've got to do little things in between so that I don't just lose interest. So I don't know exactly what I'll be doing in between Chernobyl and Clear Sky. I was recently gifted The Bureau, XCOM Declassified. Thank you once again to Menthius for donating that to me via Steam. And that one looks rather interesting. I've never played any of the XCOM games. I recognize that most of those are, from what I understand, like top-down strategy, like, I believe they're turn-based games, and I like the look of them, but I've never played any of them. Declassified, however, or rather The Bureau, I think is how it's usually referred to, is more of a third-person shooter the likes of Mass Effect, and its narrative is a prequel of sorts to the rest of the XCOM games' narrative. I don't know. And from what I understand, it's kind of a tight little shooter that, while short, is fun. So that I may very well consider, along with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, another one which was donated to me quite a while back. I've mentioned this one before, that I've also been meaning to get around to. I've just not really quite been in the headspace for, like, gothic RPG, slight horror, slight satire, the likes of pretty much anything that World of Darkness will be. So, depending upon the mood and the taste that I'm in, I'll probably do one of those before I get to Clear Sky. So that should give you guys a little bit of an idea of what to look forward to, as well as a handful of short indie games over the course of the next few weeks and months. I've got pretty lengthy plans for a lot of these. Some from Steam, some from GameJolt, others in IndieDB, and among those, quite a lot of variety. I've got some horror, some adventure, some little experimental games which look rather interesting, and some that I don't even know what to make of yet before I play them, because they just look rather weird. But as with a few games, I've been rather pleasantly surprised by the weird, so I'm kind of looking forward to diving into some of these. And part of why I want to give a little extra support and attention to the indie gaming community is to do my part in offsetting a lot of the misplaced blame and aggression that has come along with all the negative press that has recently been circling around the gaming community and industry. I announced across the board on all of our social media platforms that I will not be discussing, so don't ask, anything relating to the Gamergate scandal here on the channel, and I plan to stick to that, because no one here, least of all myself, wants or needs the vitriol and negativity that comes along with that discussion. I want no part of it, so don't bring it here. However, indie devs completely unrelated to what's been going on have suffered from this situation a great deal. Some reputation-wise, some functionally, as a lot of negative press has kind of soiled the water and soured the milk regarding that community, and that just... Some of them are not related to what's going on, and they've kind of been the innocents caught in the crossfire of a lot of the drama, and I hate to see that. So I at least want to show some of them, the developers whose games I end up covering, that not the whole world is out to get them. And that plenty of us on both sides of this camera are still really appreciative and loving to the indie developing community, and we still love and appreciate the work that they do and the art that they create. A message that a lot of them, especially those that have been so dismayed by all of the negativity flying around these days, that they have completely left this industry. Every time I see news of game developers of any stripe leaving the industry due to the drama that the people who should appreciate them most are throwing at them is completely disheartening to me. Because who knows what that person might have developed in the future. Sure, their early projects may have been rough, but everybody's are. You never know what a great mind, a really good and creative mind, might have created were they not just completely dissuaded from doing so because, well, I don't need all this, and you know what, they don't. So that is my commentary on a lot of the drama that's been going on. I know it's vague, it is imprecise, and that is exactly the way I want it to be. Nobody deserves a lot of the negativity that's been going on. So if you are curious as far as where my stances go, I did answer a couple of the FAQs, we'll call it, regarding a lot of that on our social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook. So if you are so inclined as to feel what's been going on in my mind about a lot of that, go ahead and check that out. But again, I will not be discussing it at length here because this is not the place for it. So I know that was kind of a down and dark note to wrap the vlog on, but I don't really have a great deal of other things to cover. Again, I really just wanted to catch up with those of you guys who've not really gotten the updates here on the YouTube end of things. So just kind of wanted to chat and catch up with you guys. So how's it going? How you been? Like seriously. How you been? Anyway, yeah, I've been doing good, as you can tell. So, that's really all I've got for this particular vlog. I've not really been keeping to my original thought when it came to vlogs of doing them like every other week. We're going to do regular updates, because that's not necessarily the way things always roll. Sometimes the updates regarding news, that's what's going on here at the channel, would get rolled into the mile markers. Sometimes they were getting rolled into things that I was presenting for commentary on other issues. So I'm really now just kind of doing them when I feel like I've got things to talk about, rather than having to force it every 2 weeks, where it's just like, well, that's when I said I was going to do it, so I guess I'll just come up with stuff to talk about, because I hate doing that, because it comes off as forced, and you guys know by this point, I don't like to do anything that isn't genuine. I don't like to force much of anything, and so doing it more on an organic and spontaneous nature and basis like this is, to me, more rewarding, and I get to feel a little bit more, honest about it, which it just kind of relieves stress for me. So there's that. So thank you all for joining me for this vlog here at Last Level Press. I'm Mr. Black, and as always, I wish you all good gaming and Godspeed. Who's the white guy? Needs a bullet to the brain. Gonna give you an offer you can't refuse. That offer is lead in your skull, right in your face hole. Oh god.